Self-directed or self-initiated play is a fundamental component to the development of a healthy childhood. So that's a healthy childhood from early childhood all the way through elementary years into adolescence. And we need to kind of change our conception and paradigm around that, because we primarily feel that it's just in early childhood. But we need to have little play as adults too, because it's something, when you have an opportunity, inspirations come, and it's very good for our overall well-being. So it's essential to the development of every single developmental domain in a child's being. Self-directed play nurtures and develops our kinesthetic intelligence, our body awareness, where we are in space. It develops our proprioception, and in Waldorf we say that the sense of movement. It develops our vestibular system, which is our sense of balance, our tactile sense, our gross and fine motor senses. It develops social emotional intelligence, which is key for us all to get along, yes? And that's something that can only occur in a social experiential setting. We cannot teach social emotional intelligence, though we can help it along the way. It develops language skills, expressive and receptive skills, meaning how I express my needs, being able to communicate with other human beings, and being able to listen to one another, which is an essential skill that we need to have to deal with problems of the world long term. It deals with visual spatial skills, executive functioning skills, which is something that we're working with scope as one of our key components, meaning that children, especially around, and I'm going to speak primarily from early childhood, primarily when they're 6, they start to plan. And they spend all the time planning and planning and planning and making all the steps. And then they go and they play. Sometimes they don't spend too much time playing because they've been working on their executive functioning skills in a way, and they've been planning and organizing, and they have to follow through a series of steps. And they do that in their play, all on their own, all self-initiated. And that's very special to provide that for children, as adults, to honor that. They develop numeracy and especially observation skills. And I think the most important component that they develop is this deep relationship with their innermost being. Because that's that time when children go into their imagination that they're really connecting within. And they're developing all of these key skills, physical skills, emotional skills, intellectual skills, all these components that, of course, we're waiting as adults to go into the academic realm, that, of course, we place very high value on. But I feel that time connecting with one innermost being is what's really essential, because you always go back to that even as an adult. And if you've been given that opportunity to play, to explore within, to connect, you'll carry that throughout the rest of your life. I hope everyone, of course, colleagues and parents have seen the backyard and how wonderful it is. And the play has really changed because the landscape has changed. The sensory world has changed in the backyard. The physical materials have changed. And it's just a whole new world. So when you change the physical environment, the imagination changes as well, and how children use that environment. So we have that great big log that we see, and of course there was quite a debate with the monkey bars, because we love our monkey bars, yes? Monkey bars are very exciting, and the children were, some feel a little melancholic about losing the monkey bars. And you see there's some skills key skills that are developed in that with the monkey bars, but then when you have this great big log, it invites this huge social engagement, which didn't happen with the monkey bars, and not to the degree. So we have a great big pirate ship. That log becomes a pirate ship, and Miss Wolfer gets to be invited occasionally on that pirate ship, so I get right in there, it's really great. So when they go across, I'm going to compare with the monkey bars. When they went across the monkey bars, if you one at a time, maybe 2, you have to make sure they don't collide. But now there could be 5 or 6 children on that log. They have to be able to spatially orient themselves in a totally different way. And they're going to explore that log based upon their own skills. They're going to take their time. So you'll have the one who feels very confident with their sense of balance, and they'll be able to walk right across to the very top and maybe even do a little this. You know, I would never do that. Miss Wolfert's watching carefully. Please don't think that I'm not. But, you know, they felt comfortable to do that. And there's other ones that crawl their way up. And this is not just the little preschool children. This is grade 1 and 2 as well, and anyone who engages that. I love even seeing the middle school students trying to get up on that log and even doing silly things, and they're being silly, but in the same way, they're showing their skills, they're developing in their own way, even if they're fooling around. It doesn't matter, we have to look at it in a different way. So physically, it's changed. And so they have a great big pirate ship, and then we get our buckets, and we get a big rope, I have a very large rope, it's about 12 feet, and I throw it over that log. And they get their little buckets and they fill it with stone. And then they create pulley systems. Now, I didn't teach them that, they did this themselves. And we know later on where that leads to, yes? We go into mechanics, we go into physics, we're doing weight and measurement, we're counting how many stones we're gonna put in there, and we're gonna weigh how much can I actually hoist based upon my physical power. And it varies across the board, and that develops proprioception all on its own, all self-initiated, and all Ms. Fulford is doing is encouraging them, watching them carefully. Maybe I'll join in the game through their imagination. Maybe I'll start singing a pirate song because I want to get some rhyming scheme in there, and I want them to sing along, right? Because that's language, yes? That's developing the skills for literacy. So they're all engaged in that, and they're all going to work on their own level. But I didn't see that play before, and it's just because we changed something in the backyard that's changed the way their imagination works and the skills that it invites. So they're also developing negotiating skills and language skills. So the ones who maybe don't feel comfortable sharing what they need, they're going to get up there and they're going to be ordering because they embody the pirate. You have to remember, our imagination and our thinking, they live in that world. And when we pause, we can also reconnect to that as well, because imagination and thinking are all interconnected. And that's very much in the early childhood years, and even as we get older, right? They're not two different realms, they work together. So there's a lot of language components happening at that time, and it's great listening to them. And so there's all these different aspects of a child's being cultivated just with a log. And Ms. Fulford didn't do anything. They initiated it. And it creates, what's so beautiful is that it creates this sense of wonder and curiosity and imagination, which leads later on into these capacities of self-discovery and experimentation, and really observing and really seeking something outside of themselves. It's the foundation for seeking knowledge, whether it's the self, or it's on a social realm, or if it's the outdoor environment. And we want to really give them that opportunity as an inner foundation. So you have the academic components that come when they've been given the opportunity to play, because we know that it works on so many different developmental domains. But it's these inner characteristics that I feel are most important, because that's the fire, that's the fuel that motivates a child to understand the world and themselves. And you can't teach them that. You cannot teach curiosity. You cannot teach wonder. You can provide opportunities, and you can place them in an environment that inspires them and cultivates that within. You can't really measure that, but you can see it later on with their engagement when they get so excited about some project and they're fully engaged and they're on fire and they're full of passion, and they'll work and they'll work and they'll work and they'll work. And that comes from all those inner qualities.